Very sorry, welcome back to Yerushalmi Demai. We are holding on Samach Dalet on the base. Okay, we're right towards the end of the sixth perek. Is everything okay there? Yeah?
The second lesson is limited to 1 hour session.
Okay. Turn it with us. So Samach Dalet on the base. Lo yema adam, a person who's obligated to give some of his wine for the taxes of the king, should not say Lachaveroi, to his friend who's a Nachri, Hilach Masayim Dinar, you take 200 dinar, Vashkal Al Yadi La'itza, you pay my taxes to the store of the king. Basically, you're appointing the guy to be your shliach to pay the tax, and when the guy gives the wine, Yain Nesach, it's as if the Jew is paying back his debts with Yain Nesach. Ela Omer, you can say, look, here's 200 dinar, you exempt me from my obligation. So you're not appointing him to be your shliach to pay the tax. And when the guy happens to give the Yain Nesach, it's not as if it's the Jew who's paying back his debt to Yain Nesach. Chaim, similarly, a person shouldn't say to his friend who's a guy, here, take 200 zuz. Pay my way the taxes to the craftsman's side, to the guild. Basically, you're appointing the guy to be your shliach to pay the tax. Again, when he gives Yain Nesach, it's as if you're paying your debt with Yain Nesach. You say, look, here, take the money. You exempt me from my obligation in the tribes, in the guild. And in this situation, you're not appointing him to be your agent. And then when he ends up giving Yain Nesach, it's not as if it's the Jew who's paying back his debt with Yain Nesach. Right? Hadron Allah. I'm going to cover that. Okay, now we're going to talk about the new perek. We're going to discuss about calling a name to Truma, Maisa, etc. Demai. When you're invited out and you'll make a condition, maybe before Shabbos, about what's going to happen on Shabbos, right? And let's see what happens. So Hamazmin, so first of all, you can't separate Truma and Maisa on Shabbos, whether it's definite Teva or Demai. But what can you do if you're invited out on Shabbos to an Amaretz who's not believed on Maisa? So you have to take Maisa on the food that you're going to be presented with. So Hamazmin is Chaver Shechel. Someone's invited you to eat with you on Shabbos. Someone's invited you to eat with him on Shabbos. So who? And you, the guest, you don't trust the Balabais on a Maisrus. And therefore you have to take Maisa on what you're eating. But you can't take Maisa on Shabbos, so what do? You say on the Friday, what I will separate tomorrow from the food that I'm provided, let's say 100, which is going to be separated at the end, Harehu Masa, that will be Maaseh Rishon, Usha'ar Maaseh, and then another amount of it to make up the 10th will also be Maaseh. Yitzchok will be next to it. And then you say, Zeshah Sisi Maaseh, that first bit that I made Maaseh, that 1%, also Churas Maaseh will now become Churas Maaseh on it and on the other 9 remaining Maaseh bits which are next to it. And after that, you can say Maaseh Sheni is Veda Vidraimai. Maaseh Sheni will be on the north or the south of the food, but will be redeemed onto the money which I've set aside. And by doing this condition before Shabbos, you can separate on Shabbos your 1 in 100 from your portion. It will have a name Churas Maaseh, and then you're allowed to eat from the portion. Yeah. What? He doesn't know what he's going to get, but this is a Tanai that you're allowed to do. Of course, it relies on Breira. It relies on what we say that by you calling a name, and it's only going to be separated tomorrow, you're going to later on tell me these are the portions that will have the name of yesterday, and it's Chal on Shabbos. Kriyas Hashem, calling the name wasn't done on Shabbos. Okay? We are relying on Breira. We're saying what was decided later on was the amount that you decided earlier on. And at the time when you said it, it wasn't clear what your portion would be. Actually, he says here it's not necessarily dependent on Breira, because you don't need the Maaseh to be Chal Mafreya from the Friday. The Maaseh is not going to be Chal on the Friday. It's enough that it's Chal on the time when we know what food is talking about. So this tonight helps even if you hold Ein Breira. So it's going to work from Shabbos. It's not working from Friday. We're not saying when I end up eating and I separate a portion, it will be Maaseh which I've separated from today. We're not saying that. It's only going to work on the Shabbos, right? Our review. Our Mishnah is talking about Demai. If it's definite Teva, you can't make a condition on the Friday. Now, we seem to understand Demai, you can make a condition on the Friday, but Teva Vadai doesn't help. You have to separate, right? But then the Gemara says, Masisa Amra, but the Mishnah says, that Tanai helps, I feel a bevadai. We find elsewhere, even vadai, the Tanin Tama, we've learned that highlights are in shall tevel to the you got proper tevel in your house on Friday, but who base medrash on the Sunday, you don't have access to them, you're in the base of medrash in the field, you won't have time to separate them before Shabbos comes in. You can say the following. There are 2 figs that I'm going to separate out of the 100 there, Truma. 10 will be Maser Rishon, 9 will be Maser Sheni. So even proper tevel, a condition helps from the Friday. Now you're going to tell me, in Tema about Demai and Ankayamin, you're going to talk about Demai there. Less Yachid, you can't say that. It's Anina, we've learned how you Demai. There's another section there about if you had Demai. So if the Sefer is talking about Demai, the Reish is obviously talking about proper tevel. So the Gemara answers, Rabbi Yechon said he's with Demai. He's saying, look, the Mishnah here is talking about Demai. He's talking about the Demai in our Mishnah. He was talking about Demai and not Tevel Vadai. But usually the condition will help with Tevel as well. You hear that? The condition will help with Tevel as well. Our Mishnah happens to talk about Demai. Why is there in our Mishnah a difference between the two? Because Demai you can make a condition on something that's not yet yours. So the guest can make a condition on the food he's going to receive for lunch, despite the fact it's not his yet. But Vadai, when it's definite Tevel, it has to be in your domain. Okay? If it's in your domain, then you can make it tonight even with Tevel. Rabbi Yanai, Havalei tonight Vadai. He made it tonight from Erev Shabbos on Tevel, which was in his domain. He had no time to take Ma'aseh before Shabbos, but he was still worried to rely on this tonight, because maybe the tonight doesn't help with Vadai, only with Demai. So he asked, he asked, can I be attacking the fruits on Shabbos relying on the tonight? Amalei, he said to him, it says, you shall take up Maseh, the word Kala Yamim, Afila B'Shabbos. It's talking about Maser Sheni, talking about taking Maasros on Shabbos. You should be careful, don't remove your Einik Shabbos just because you didn't take Tzukana for the Tevel. You're allowed to take Maser on Shabbos. Chachamim forbade it. So this drasha is talking about making it tonight on Erev Shabbos. Mahu dechamis mekel belashi talibi. If that was the case, that I was right when I made it tonight, now I saw in my dream, like the tax collector's stick. It sounds like maybe from Shemayim I was relying on something I shouldn't have done. Amalei says the stick you saw in the dream was a hint that Asid al-Lahanik Svaradi is when you're going to be a ruler on the Jewish people. Rav Hoshea, he made a proper Tanai Erev Shabbos on the vegetables of Tevel, which was in his home. He had no time to take Ma'aseh before Shabbos. One woman cooked from that species of vegetable on the Friday, and she has Mitakumta. She forgot to be masakin it from Tevel. She never made it tonight. Asked the Gav Rav Hoshea. She comes before Rav Hoshea to ask, how can she allow this food for eating this vegetable she's cooked? The Shalach Rav Hoshea sent the Zavdi ben Levi to Yitakin La, that he should be masakin her vegetable. He should be mafresh. He should separate from his vegetables to cover her vegetable, based on the Tanai that he had done. Now, how can he be masakin for her? How is that going to work? Surely, Zavdi Bar Levi, did he not need to be mazaket for Rav Hoshea with the vegetable of this woman in order to be mazakin it? Basically, Rav Hoshea made it tonight. It will help for his fruit, right? It's not going to help on anyone else's fruit. So therefore, he should be mazaket first, the vegetable to Rav Hoshea. No, but he should, if you want to take masa for someone else, they have to have a share in your tanai, or at least be mazaket in the vegetable, or something, give it over. He's taking masa for her, based on his tanai. But he needs to be mazaket, the vegetable, to Rav Hoshea, so it should become his, and then it's going to help. The tanai is going to, he's made it tanai, but how can he make the tanai for other people? Someone needs to give him a vegetable from this woman, or on behalf of this woman, for his tanai to help. So that was the question here. What did they say? If he would be mazaka in the yerek for Rav Hoshea, he could be matakin it relying on the tanai, although the vegetable wasn't in his rishus at the time of tanai. Now tell Vadai, tanai only helps on peris which are in your domain. But if you're masakin with your fruits and they're in your domain, b'shas tanai, then They don't need to be in your, one second. The fruit that's Masukah doesn't need to be in your domain, because you can be maser from your own for other people, but you need to be mezaka in the vegetable before Afrosha. You have to pick it up on behalf of someone else. You understand? So that's what we're saying here. For the heter of the Tanai to help, you have to pick it up. Just like with the Eruv. When you make an Eruv, sometimes someone else picks it up on behalf of other people, yeah? So here as well. So if the Eruv boy, he asked him to me, he says, Man, what are we talking about? If he made a condition, clearly, on all that he will be mafish for himself and for others, and in some of this goes to be Yerek. He doesn't have to have a be mezaka in the vegetable. He can take maser for others based on the Tanai that he's made. If the condition was only on himself and not for others, then then you need to be mezaka him with the vegetable of this woman in order to be mezaka on Shabbos. So the Tanai Rav Oshia was maybe for himself and for others, so you don't need to be mezaka in the vegetable. Basically, he must have said it for everyone. Rav Yaakov Azadiv Shem Ravo Yitzchok. He asked him the dinner Rav Oshia. He left it as a question without an answer. Zavdi ben Levi Rav Oshia b'Yalka. But Zavdi ben Levi was not zoich in this vegetable for Rav Oshia with his vegetable. How can he take maser on relying on his condition? Now Bavo wasn't happy with the chiluk of Rav Zira. He held even if you clearly make a condition for you and for others, and tonight doesn't help for other people unless you're mezaka them, right? You lift it up on their behalf, the fruit, the condition. Therefore, Ravo argues on Rav Oshia, and he holds that the Tanai doesn't help at all for the parents of others, unless the Bala Tanai, because it was Zoich in the fruit, he has to pick it up on her behalf before the Hafrosha. So he's saying, look, it doesn't help unless you really pick it up on their behalf. Oh, Rabbi Yana, another din about a condition. You have to remember your Tanai on Shabbos. When you're doing your mafra, you're separating the food, you have to remember you made the Tanai. Not only you have to remember it, you have to whisper it and say it over as well. Rav Yirmiyah Bar Rav Ziri asked, it looks like you're taking Maser on Shabbos if you mention the Tanai with your mouth on Shabbos. He says, we can push away, whoever says this, we can push it away. You don't have to mention the Tanai with your mouth on Shabbos. Okay, now we said a guest can separate maybe 1/100th for Trumas Maser. So Rav Yirmiyah Bar Rav Zira, another question, now you separate 100th, you're going to throw that food away. Trumas Maser is forbidden to Israelim. You can't leave it on the table, because the Balabais might eat it. You need to throw it into the ground, destroy it. You're over ruining food. Amalei says, Mefarer, you break it up. Koshahu. You basically break it into crumbs which are less than a kazais, and then you can destroy it. Because the issue of destroying food doesn't apply to crumbs which don't have a share of a kazais. Rav Yirmiyah Bar Rav Zira, Ve'ena Asam Shem Gazal. Now, why are you not stealing? Your balabais, your host gave you to eat, and you're intentionally taking this last bit of food and you're throwing it away. Amalei says, right, so the host wants the guest to be happy. So he's not particular if he wants to destroy some of the food for the sake of Trumas Maser. Okay? From the words of the Chachamim, we see they argue on this idea that the Balabais wants the guest to be happy. So Rabbi Rav Yehuda, they stayed with the host. A person went who said Lashon Hara to the host. Amalei says, you know something, these people here, you check them, you watch them out. You know something? They suspect you on Maestros. You see, you watch them. You see, before they eat, they will take Maestro on their portions and separate Trumas Maser. So when he hears this, what does he do? He sits there and he looks at them to see what they're doing. When they realized that he was watching them, they made as if they're playing with their food and throwing it one to the other. And through this they were masakin the food. They decided that the crumbs which fell from the food will be Trumas Maser. Now, according to Zira, you told me the host is happy for what the guests do. Is the host not happy? Does he not want the guests to be happy, to allow them to do what they want? Why is he checking them to see if they take Maser or not? you have to say he doesn't agree that they should separate Trumas Maaser from the portion. So the Gemara says, right, so of course he wants that they should be happy. He doesn't want that they should suspect him on Maasros. So he's checking to see if that's right. But the idea of destroying the food, he's not so particular when a person is happy as a result. Okay, so he didn't want to be suspected. That was the thing. Okay, now we said a guest can make a Tanai on Erev Shabbos on the condition to eat and with his host on Shabbos. The Gemara brings a Bryce which argues, Tani will learn Rav Yehuda Isa. Rav Yehuda forbids you to make a Tanai on Erev Shabbos. My time, what's the reason, Rav Yehuda? Yesh Adam Masna Adar Shein Abu Shuzai. Can you make a Tanai on something that's not yours? Now the Bryce adds on, according to Rav Yehuda, there's another solution for a guest. My Rav Yehuda, so the guest can acquire fruit before Shabbos from the same shop where the host acquired it, or ma'asran, and take meiser from his fruit on the host. Because since he's mastering from his fruit, he can take meiser of the host or the guest, even on behalf of the host, even though that they are not his. So what's he doing? He's going to the same shop. Yeah? And take meiser on behalf of the fruit of the host. He can take meiser for the fruits of the host, even though they're not his. You can take meiser from something that's not yours. I mean, how can you take meiser from fruit of others without them knowing about it? So the Gemara answers, despite the fact that usually you can't, but here they allowed it. Also, I say they treated him, the host and the guest, the guest with the host of Aretz. It's like you're selling Tevel to your friend, B'shoigeg, where the seller is allowed to be mafresh his own maestros on behalf of the purchaser. You sold your friend Tevel. Run after him, and you should run after him and tell him, you need to be sacking the fruit. But what happens if you didn't find him? He didn't find the buyer. If you know the fruit is still around, you can take maser for that fruit. If you think it's not around, you don't have to take maser on it. If you don't know if it's still around or not, you still should take maser for that fruit, and that maser which your mafresh, they also need maser taken for them. It's a suffix if they've got a name maser or not. Maybe they remain tevel. So you bring other tevel, and you're masakin this maser here. You're masakin it from elsewhere. What do we see in the brisa? We see if there's no other solution to be masakin the fruit, the moicha can take maser from his own fruit without the owner knowing about it. So in this situation of the guest, the host invited the guest, and the host is Namaretz, and the guest wants to eat with him on Shabbos. There's no other way to be masakin the food. He can be mafresh from Friday on the food that he's going to eat. Okay? Halacha base. Now the Tanai, what I'm going to separate. That's all very well when it comes to food. You can separate a bit before you eat for Trumas Maaser, leave it on the side, but it doesn't really fit in with drinks, because you can't really start pouring a bit of the drink out. How are you going to do it? In front of your host, you're going to pour the drink down? So the Mishnah says, what was the right wording? If you want to drink wine in the Balabai's house, they pour the guests some wine. Then, the guest says, that which I will leave at the bottom of the cup, that 1 in 100. Harav Maser, that's Maser, V'shar Maser, and then another 9 portions of Maser Samchla next to it. And then you say, Sisi Maser, that which I put Maser first, also Churas Maser, I love that becomes Churas Maser on all that Maser section. And then you say Maser Sheni, the piv will be at the top of the cup, basically in the top of lip, and will be designated onto money that I've designated. So based on that tonight, you can drink the wine that they poured, you leave a bit behind at the base, and that will be the Trumas Maser. So the Mishnah is telling us the nusach of the tonight on Friday, in order you can drink with the Amoretz. The Lashon Mishnah, they poured in the cup, sounds like at the time of the pouring of the cup on Shabbos. So Kinemas, this is the way to learn it. Ule'inyan mazigas hakois, if they invite you to drink on Shabbos, you make a condition on Erev Shabbos. That's what it means. Now, what I'm going to separate at the end of the cup. What are we talking about here? If he wants the Trumas Maser Bichal Mikvah before he drinks, then Mashke Me'oravu. Then it's Cholin and Trumas Maser mixed up. When he drinks, it's all mixing together. The Trumas Maser, which is at the base. If he's saying the Trumas Bichal when he drinks it, so the time when he drinks it, there's no Trumas Maser. Lemafreya Teva Shasa. It turns out it was Tevel all along. At the time when he drank it, it wasn't Truma yet, so he drank Tevel. What are we talking about? Ba'omer, where he says the Truma should be Chal Mikvah Lekeshe Eshter. What I'm going to leave in the cup at the end will be Trumas Maser from the beginning. Before I finish it will be Trumas Maser. So in this situation, the Meiser is Chal before you drink. But there's no mixture of Trumas Maser and Cholin, because the part which is separated from Trumas Maser is what remains at the base of the cup when I finish drinking. And whatever you drink until then is Cholin. You hear that? So the Trumas Maser will be right at the end of the cup, wherever I leave at the end. Now, we said in Amoritz it's not careful with Tumah and Tahara, and the food and drink are Cheskas Tomei. And therefore, Trumas Maser, which belongs to the guest leaves it behind on the cup, is probably Tomei. So therefore, when you hold the cup in your hand, after there's a bit of Trumas Maser left in it, and Trumas Tomei is also because of Muksa, so you're moving stuff which is Muksa, it's not fitting to be eaten. You can leave a bit of Chulin in the cup in addition to the Trumas Maser, and because the Chulin can be moved, you can move the whole thing. We learned elsewhere, but tells me Truma Tamea Imatahira. You can move Truma Tamea with Tahira, Chulin, and with Chulin, you can move anything which has Truma Tamea, if it also holds a bit of Truma Tahira as well, or a bit of Chulin as well. Yeah? Below David. Now it's not the same. It's not in terms of the Mishnah there. Tamam. Now Truma Tamea, when you move that, usually where we quoted where he said it's allowed, is the Tahira is for the sake of something which is Tahir, or for the sake of Chulin. That we need the Truma Tahira or the Chulin, and you can remove the Truma Tamea together with it. But here, the way we're explaining, you're moving the Chulin for the sake of carrying Truma Tamea, because you don't need the Chulin in the cup. Whatever's left is just so that you should move the Trumas Maser, which is Tameh. You can't learn from that Mishnah to allow it. And so the question comes back, how can the guest move the cup with the Truma Tamea on Shabbos? You have to say at the time of the Tanai, the Trumas Maser will take effect before it leaves the cup. So there's no Trumas Maser on what's left, only when you pour it from the cup. As long as it's in the cup, you can still drink it. You hear that? It's only when it leaves the cup that it becomes forbidden. As long as it's still in the cup, you can drink it. Okay. So according to the conclusion then, Trumas Maser is chal on the leftovers after the guest finishes to drink. And if before he finishes to drink it got a bit spilt, there's nothing left, there's no Trumas Maser, it turns out he ate tevel. So the Gemara brings an argument with Tanaim with elsewhere whether you have to worry about this situation. And whether Tanaim will argue in this situation of our Mishnah, the ones who argue there, when they'll argue here. Because Taman Taninan, we've learnt later on, if you take on Erev Shabbos 100 lug, Yain Mibena Kutim, which is wine from Kutim who's got a din of Tevel, and you didn't have to separate Maestros until Shabbos comes in, you can give a name to the Maestros on Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmashos, because you say, 2 lug that I'll separate after Shabbos will be Truma Gedolah. Another 10 lug that I'm going to separate will be Maser Rishon. Another 9 lug is Maser Sheni. And after that you can drink the wine. And you leave at the end the various parts which you fix for Truma and for Maser. Tali, we learnt on a brisa on that Mishnah, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, and they forbade you because they're worried, Shemati Baka'anoi. Maybe the barrel will break, or the jug will break, and the wine will get spilled before your mafresh and maishros after Shabbos. Then it turns out you had tevel all along. Because it comes out that the name that was there was never chal, then you have to separate maestros before drinking the wine. Adamas Nisan, our Mishnah allows the guest to drink wine with the balabais relying on what he's left at the end for Trumas Maser, like Rabbi Yosef Shimoni. This is not like Rabbi Yosef Shimoni, this is like the Tanakama in our Mishnah, because according to Rabbi Yosef, we have to worry, maybe the thing will break before you finish drinking. And if you drank wine, Demai Daf, yeah? So it sounds like you might break. So we have to say our Mishnah, which allows it, is relying on what's going to be left at the end. Rabbi Yaakov Aridi says, everyone agrees with the cup. You don't have to worry it'll break. Shuhu alatar. You're going to drink it there and then. In that short period of time, we're not worried it's going to get spilt. In the situation of our Mishnah, which is like a jug of wine, which you leave it for a long time, and you're separating Maasros after Shabbos, and you're going to drink from it on Shabbos bit by bit, then they're worried the thing might break meanwhile. Therefore, our Mishnah's din is according to everyone. Okay? Next one. A Mishnah discusses a worker, the Balabais gives him a fixed amount out of the fruit, and he wants to take master on his food. So he doesn't trust the Balabais on the Maasros, he wants to take master on what he eats. He takes one fig out of 100, which the Balabais gives him to eat, and he says, this fig, Zu, the following 9, Asuyas Masa are treated as Masa Rishon on the Tishim Shani Eichel, on the 90 that I'm eating. So out of this 100 here, I'm separating 10. The Zu, and the first one I took, Asuyas Choros Masa Aleh, and it's going to be Choros Masa for this Masa section. Right, so on the other 9, which I made Masa Rishon, this one is going to be the Choros Masa. On Masa Sheni, and Masa Sheni will be on the latter ones, which is the 9 which come afterwards. And it is redeemed onto the money I've designated, and then you can eat from the figs. So you stop eating at the end, you leave one fig behind, to make sure you don't eat that last fig, right? And then you can eat the 99. You're not allowed to take for yourself grogos out of the masa. He said, you're not allowed to reduce from the food that the Balabais has given you, even one fig. You're the worker, you should eat all the food you get. You'll have less energy to do the work for the Balabais. If you eat a little bit, you'll be weak, and you won't work properly. So you are chayav to get another grogos, another fig, and eat it for the sake of the one that you've separated as Trumas Maser. You have to replace it with another one so that you're eating properly. Okay? Rabbi Yosef says, you shouldn't have less from the 100 that you're given, but for another reason, the basin, the Balabais has to pay the worker on what you are separating as Trumas Maser. So the worker is allowed to take for himself an additional fig from the Balabais to replace the one that he's separated as Trumas Maser. So even if you separate one and you don't eat it, he should give you another one to replace it. Okay. Now the Lashon here was the worker doesn't trust the Balabais. It sounds like we're talking about a Balabais who's now Ma'aretz. He's not believed on Maasros. But even with a Balabais who's a Chaver, our Mishnah is still relevant. Because it's permitted for the Balabais to give his workers who are poor Demai, where it's not exactly paying a debt. You are allowed to give the workers Demai. So Rabbi Elazar Shem Rav also we treated it as if you don't trust the Balabais. Even the workers doing work with a Chaver is included in our Mishnah. And what? It's like doing Malacha for the Amaretz. If you want to take Peres Demai, you get what you get from the Balabais. You're stopping yourself from eating one fig, whatever it is, corresponding to the amount that you've separated for Trumas Maser. So we treat him as if he doesn't believe the Balabais. Okay. Now in the case of our Mishnah, as long as the worker hasn't eaten the fruit, we don't yet know on what the Maasros Achal. After he eats from it, it turns out the Mafreya, that fruit that he ate had a hafrosha on it. The word discusses what's the din of the Trumas Maser if he didn't actually eat from the fruit in the end. So everything got burnt, let's say. Or the other way around, what's the din on the Peres if the Truma got lost before you ate the Peres? So Pshita de Milsa, one thing is clear, Nisrafu, if everything got burnt, the Peres of the Balabais, before he managed the workers to eat from them, then a Truma, or that means the Trumas Maser, but Tibula remains Tevel, because the separating Maasros was on what he's going to eat. if he didn't eat in the end, then it's not Chal Maestris. And what about the other way around? Nisr for her truma, if the truma got burned before the worker managing to eat from the fruit, does the truma has to be there at the time when the birul takes place, when it's chal, and it's kaddish lamafreya, it's kaddish backwards, and if it got lost before this birul, maybe it's not chal at all, or do we say since the birul is lamafreya, it comes out retroactively that what was the situation, therefore it's chal, the truma from the beginning, it doesn't have to be valid at the time of this birul taking place. So what we're asking, does it work backwards? Yeah, retroactively, does it work? Okay, so if it got burnt, then the truma does it remain tevel? Or maybe if it got burnt before the worker was managing to eat from it, does it still need to be around at the time when it's chal? So the Gemara answers, Lekeshe'achlu ha'peres, when the peres are eaten, kadsha truma lamafreya. The truma is chal retroactively, even though it's not chal at that time, as long as it was chal retroactively, that's good enough. Right, it's chal lamafreya. You don't need the maestros to be there at the time when the chulin is rectified through this. We're using this. Basically, it was kaddish from the beginning. Once the parasite is cleaned, in this bara, we've worked out that these are the fruit. It comes out that all the fruit was already chal from the beginning. Okay. And you set aside one fig. What does this mean? Lashon chaysech. Chaysech with the sin. Where are you setting aside one? From what you've been given to eat, you take out one fig for Truas Masa, and you eat the remaining 99. Now, Yerushalmi Gamliel holds, a worker can't remove from his food that he's been given, because it will cause him to not work so well. The Gemara brings a brisa, which discusses this. Tani, we've learned, don't start working the cow hard work at night, and then hire it to others by yom in the day. Because it'll be very tired to work during the day if you're going to work it at night. It won't work properly. Don't do work in your own house at night. And work for others during the day. Don't starve yourself. And chastise yourself when you're working for others, because again, you end up not doing the work for the balabais. He went to a place, he found a teacher who was fasting and everything. He says, okay, what's going on? He said, why? Because Chaim, he's fast, I always fast. Says to the teacher, you're not allowed to fast. Because if working for a man person, also was saying you're not allowed to starve yourself because you won't work so well. When he comes to teaching Torah to the children, like Kol Sheken, you're not allowed to afflict yourself so that you won't reduce in your work that you're doing. Okay? And we said in that Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi says, don't set aside food, Neshu tonight based in. Rabbi Chia bar Rashi b'shem Rav, tonight based in it was a condition should take Trumas Masa Mishel Balabais. So that's one din. The Trumas Masa should be paid by the Balabais, and Masa Sheni Mishel Pile. Masa Sheni of the worker. So here, the Chachamim Masakin, the Trumas Masa, the worker separates. During Masakin his food, it's on the Balabais' account. Right? It's on the landlord's account. He has to, the one who hires the worker, he has to pay for that. Despite the fact that Ikadin, the Balabais is not Mochayev. He says, well, the fruit's all Maaseh already. Maaseh Sheni, the remaining din stays, is on the worker. Maaseh Sheni has to pay for the worker pays for that. He has to redeem it from his own money. Okay? Okay. You take wine, you're buying wine from the Kutib on a Friday. You forgot to Misakin it till twilight. You can't be mafish now, the truth of maestros. You want to drink it on Shabbos. What do? I may say, two lug that I'm going to separate after Shabbos, out of the 100 lug. Harei Truma. They are Truma now in this wine, which is 1 in 50, right? So it's 2 lug out of the 100. But Asara, and 10 that I'm going to separate out of this 100, they are Maaseh, it's Maaseh Rishon. And then after the 10, you've got to do, on what's left, you have to do a 10th, which is Maser Rish, Maser Sheni. The Tisha and the 9 out of the rest of the wine is Maser Sheni. Right? And then you can start drinking from the wine. And Motzi Shabbos, you'll separate the wine that's remaining, the Truma and the Maestras, and be Chala Mafreya, that the wine that you're separating in the end was there as Kedushas Trumas Maestras from the beginning. And the wine that you drank was proper Chulin. Tani, we learned in the Brisa, Zu. This din of the Mishnah that you can drink the wine on Shabbos relying on the Hafroshas Maestras which we done on Motzi Shabbos is like the view of Rabbi Yosef Shimon Eisrin, they forbade it. Shemati Bakahanoi. Maybe the jug will break before you're managing to be mafresh Trumas Maestras. Then it turns out you were drinking Tebel all along, and in the end you never separated from Maestras. It turns out there was no Maestras here at all, and therefore the wine was Tebel all the time. Now, even though Rabbi Yosef Shimon said you can't rely on the Tanai because the Chashash, the thing will break, the Gemara says that's not the main reason. The main reason of the thing will break is a far-fetched reason. There must be other reasons to argue on the view of Rameh. The Gemara says each one had their own reasons. Like it's Amadain to Tamadain. And really, Rabbi Yossi's reason was not like Rabbi Shimon's reason. Tamad Rabbi Yossi's reason that tonight doesn't help. He held to call a name on Masa, you need to have Masa in a fixed place, a designated place. In this case, the Mishnah, the Maestras are not Chal till after Shabbos when you separate them, when you physically separate them. And therefore the Trumas and Maestras can't be Chal at the time of Tanah and Erev Shabbos because we don't know yet where they'll be. Now that's not Rabbi Shimon's reason. He held that calling a name for Masa helps even if we haven't designated the place. So the Talmud of Shimon, the reason of Rav Shimon, that we're worried, Shema Yishkach, maybe you'll forget to be mafresh the maestros from the wine after Shabbos, but Yishtes Hashah, you'll drink the rest, and you won't be mafresh the maestros, and it will come out that you drank Teba the Mafreya. Therefore, Shimon forbids you to rely on this condition. Now the Gemara brings a proof to that which we said in the view of Rabbi Yossi, that he held you have to be Mavare, the place of the Maser, when you're giving it a name. Ka'adada Tari, like we learned from Rabbi Yossi, it fits in what we've seen in Tosefta. Maser Sheni, Shabachov is there. Maser Sheni in this barrel, Mulchulal al Sela Shabakiz zeh. Will go on money, which I will check out of this wallet. Chila, you have redeemed the Maser Sheni. Rabbi Yossi Omer Loi Chila. He says, no, you haven't. At the time of the redemption, it's not clear which coin we're talking about. So the Kedushas Maser can't go on something which you haven't yet clarified what we're talking about. So it comes out from this price that Rabbi Yossi holds you can't have Maser on something which is not Muvura. We don't know what it's going to be going on. Rabbi Yossi agrees. Shim Amma, if he said, look, the Maser Sheni in this barrel will be Mecholo ala Sela HaYeshana, the old coin in this wallet. And there's only one old coin in the wallet. Or, if he said, Ba'al Dina HaYasham, it should be redeemed in the old dinar in this wallet, and there's only one dinar there, Shechila, then it's effective, because you have said which coin we're talking about for this redemption. And Moedim Chachamim Rabbi Yossi, the Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Yossi Shim Amma, he said, the Maser Sheni in this barrel, Maser Sheni, in this barrel, we Mechula ala Sela she'etam miyad b'ni, on the coin I will take from my son, or ala dinar she'etam miyad b'ni, on the dinar I will take from my son, and then if you didn't take it, even if you do take the money eventually from your son, if he's prepared to give it to you, Loi Chilal, it doesn't work. Why? They weren't yours at the time of your designation. And you can't start being machalal on something which is not yours. So that's what he's saying. It's got to be on something specific, something finite. Now we brought the reasons of Rabbi Yosef Shimon. You can't rely on Kriyas Shem for Maestros, and depends on separating Maestros in the future. We're worried the thing might break. Rav brings a Mishnah which doesn't worry about this. Talmud Taninan, we learn elsewhere. Miniach Peros, there's Mafresh and then Trumas and Maestros. You leave fruit, and you're going to separate Trumas and Maestros, and on all the fruits, basically all the fruit of Tebel you have, you say Trumas Master on this Tebel will be in this fruit which I designated. And that's what you always do. Or boys, yes, Mafresh Alen, you separate money always from Maser Sheni. I'll always redeem my Maser Sheni onto this money. And then the din is, mafresh aleim b'cheskas she'en kayomin. You mafresh on them, you assume that the fruit is still around, or the money that you have is still around, even though you can't see it. You don't have to check, maybe it was stolen or lost. Now this Mishnah is the local of Yosef Shimon. Surely, it's not like Yosef Shimon, they were worried the jug might break. This Mishnah holds you don't have to worry, oh maybe the fruit's not there anymore, or the money's disappeared. We can assume that everything's there. Rav Zehira said, Tamam, in the situation of Yosef Shimon, Chashash, the jug might break in the future, and then the Maestros, the Mafreya and his Kalkalu. It turns out there was a problem from the beginning. It was Mafreya, there was a problem with it. And therefore this Chashash, we can't rely on Chazaka. You can't put something on Chazaka as far as the future is concerned. But the Mishnah in Gittin, even if the fruit gets lost, the Maestros that you're Mafresh may owe them from the time of the loss of the food, Ve'elach. This Kalkalu, they were Mekukal and not Chal. They were Chal originally, but when the food got lost, that's the whole problem. But the Maestros that were Mufresh before that are not Misbatel and Mafreya. It's only from the time you lost the food. So when the owners come and put Maser on the fruit that they've set aside, you don't have to worry where it will get lost in the future. Because even if it gets lost, it will not be Mavata the Maestros and Mafreya. You only have to worry, maybe they're already lost now. And as far as this Chashash, we say no, you rely on Chazaka, it's still around, and you assume that it's still around, you don't have to assume it's lost at this moment. Now the Gemara brings a Mishnah Meila, which is connected to our Mishnah, but I think we will stop here. Huh? What's that? Want me to carry on? Oh, we do a few more lines. Tamad Tanina, we learned to Meila, Pruta shal Hekdesh, Shanafla Latecha Kiss. Right, you've got Hekdesh money, which fell into a wallet with other money of Chulin. Oshta Amma, or the person said, Pruta Bekis Hazeh Hekdesh. A Pruta in this wallet is Hekdesh. You don't say which one. So you've got now a mixture of Hekdesh money and Chulin money. After that, you use the fruits for your own purposes. So it's Machreis Rabbi Kiva and the Chachavim. According to Rabbi Kiva, even if you use one coin in the wallet, you're over Meila now. But the Chachavim say you're not Chaim Meila until you spend all the money in the wallet. But Tana, we've learned in the explanation of the argument, when Rabbi Kiva said, use the first coin, your moil, it doesn't mean it's definite Meila, but Al Rishayna, on the first coin you spend, Ma'al B'Safek. It's a Safek Meila. It's a Safek with this coin. Was this the Pruta of Hekdesh or not? But Al Ashniya, and on the second coin, which is, let's say, the last coin in this situation, if there's only two coins here, and you've already spent one, now you're spending the last one, then Ma'al B'Vadai. That's definite Meila. Now you definitely spent all the money on Hekdesh. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. That's Rabbi Akiva. Chachamim said, Al Kulam, on spending all of them, let's say on each one, apart from the last one actually. So Al Kulam, one second, they're saying, Al Kulam, on each one, apart from the last one, Loi Ma'al should be the subject. You've not been over Mila yet. Al Achraina, but on the last one, that's definite Mila. Ma'al Bavada, that's definite Mila. I'll review that. Avoid Rabbi Tani explained. Hadada Tema. This din, the Chachamim said, if you spend each one from the first coins, no Mila at all. That is, Kashayu Esa. Let's say there were 10 coins in the wallet, or any other number more than 2. So every coin that you use, we say, well, it's from the Rav. The Rav is Chulin. And the one who spends it is not over Meila. Aval im hayu shtayim, if there were only 2 coins, there's no Rav Chulin here anymore, then even the Chachamim agree, Al Rishayna Ma B'Safek, the first one you're over Meila out of doubt, Mal Ashniya Ma B'Vadai, and on the second one that's definite Meila. Okay, we'll stop here, okay?